keeping us up to date on what's going on with national security. One of the best of them, Marine veteran and Republican strategist Bill Cortese joins us along with Frankie. Hello, guys.
Hello, Bill. Hello, John.
John, Frank, great to be with you.
Billy, how's everybody doing over there? Everybody good by you?
We're doing okay. Everyone's hanging in there. I think we're all just moving from our COVID emergency to now our riot emergency status. So, it's from one thing to another, it seems. What I find amazing is that all these masks suddenly just disappeared from everybody. All the people that were telling us to stay in and to make sure that we're covered up and this, that, and the other thing have we don't hear anything from them about these protests where clearly people are not observing the social distancing that they've been enforcing. So the irony is not lost, I think, on any of us.
It is strange. And then on top of it, us regular working folk, doing good, abiding by the pause, staying home, we're not going to work and all this other stuff. But all these people can congregate, no social distancing, no nothing. And then, I had a doctor on yesterday, Dr. Bindia Gandhi, who said that she would expect that all these places where the riots are, there's going to be a spike in COVID cases. And in fact, by allowing them get together like this, if there's a spike, it breaks the metrics, and then the phases have to start from scratch again. So these riots, I think, may actually be influencing the numbers we're looking at for businesses to reopen.
Well, John, we're going to find out exactly whether how serious this was, right? And in terms of how contagious this really is and how it spreads. If we don't see these places turn into hot spots, then maybe it raises some questions too. I mean, we've all, I think, tried to do the right thing here. Unfortunately, I don't think governments in the tri-state area have reciprocated the kind of a problem-solving approach to getting people back to work. It's kind of, we were told to flatten the curve, and I think we all did our best to do that. And then we all were told, well, we got to wait for a cure. People are not going to do it. And we're seeing it. You saw it this weekend. You were out front about this on Staten Island and other places in the city. People are not just going to close indefinitely. And unfortunately, there are a lot of small shops, even in New York City, independently owned shops that have been looted now. So these people have been closed for the past 10 weeks or so, and now they've been cleaned out. And de Blasio and Cuomo are nowhere to be seen. And I think there's such an absence of leadership right now from top to bottom. It's really troubling and really scary.
Bill, let me ask you to put on your political consultant's cap for a second. And it might seem a little insensitive to talk about politics at a time like this, but I think if anything, both in New York and nationally, if there's anything that demonstrates the importance of choosing responsible political leaders, it's the three crises that we're dealing with simultaneously of a pandemic, nationwide riots, and economic devastation. But what do you think the political impact of all this is? Does this feed into anti-Trumpism? Does it drive sort of on the fence moderates who may not like Trump's style towards a more law and order style candidate? The elections are in 6 months. Not just the presidency, but Congress and the U.S. Senate are at stake. Where do you see this having an impact?
Well, I think if there's anything that we need to understand when we look at any of the politics right now is that Trump has never adhered to any of these political or social norms, right, of what we've understood with campaigns and in politics. With that said, I do think when you look at the numbers, even when you polled back in the 60s, when they polled riots in the 60s, African Americans opposed a lot of these riots that were done back then. That I have to think now there are people that overwhelmingly are opposed to the looting and the rioting. And for the people that are probably doing it peacefully and doing it for the right reasons that are protesting, their message is certainly getting lost. The images that we see are burned out cars, are looted stores. And so that is the message, and that is the storyline that is coming out. The fact that this originated up in Minnesota, a place where the Trump folks felt that they had a real shot at pulling in to that, pulling that state into their column, you could see this kind of a backlash where people can say that what was done to this gentleman, George Floyd, was intolerable. They should throw the book at these police officers. But this is not how you react to it. And so there could be this sort of blowback against that. And if you look at 67 and you look at 68, you had the long, hot summer in 67 and then into 68, where the riots burned down a lot of the big cities. across the country. What happened in 1968 in that presidential election? Remember, you dealt with the assassination as well of two prominent leaders in 68 as well. So very tumultuous times. And thankfully, we haven't dealt with that, and I hope we don't. But just when we look at the context, there was a law and order candidate, Richard Nixon, who came in and was a law and order candidate, was very firm on that, and won in a landslide, won with over 300 electoral votes. So I think your average voter is looking at, maybe the message that started off as peaceful has now turned into, let's rob the Chanel store in Soho, and we'll prove a point that way. So I think it's too early to say. Obviously, it's a political eternity away, but we're moving through. We're in June already. I think this could benefit, but the president sometimes can squander some of these opportunities as well. But right now, I think it's on him to restore order, and I think politics is going to come second.
Billy, you know me. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, although I do think Jeffrey Epstein is still dead.
Who are you, and what have you done with John Tobacco?
Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. But anyway, no, but I kind of see things different than other people sometimes. I think there's a bigger plan afoot here. Obviously, these riots are popping up all coincidentally in, very liberal mayor cities, but those are the big cities, and that's what happens. But Antifa seems to be trying to put the pressure on America. That's the way I see it. We're going to overrun your towns. We're going to overrun your police departments. And now yesterday, not everyone saw it. Nico, I don't know if you have the screenshot for those of you watching on TV, but Robert Johnson, the CEO or founder of Black Entertainment Television, came out with a plan yesterday on Fox News, a $14 trillion reparations plan, which includes $350,000 per person who is a descendant of lower sub-Saharan Africa descent. $350,000, $14 trillion. I think these two things are going to come together. I think the reparations are going to be what they use to extort us and say we'll stop when we get our reparations.
Listen, I think this is something they've pushed about. They talked about it in the Democratic debate. They've been very open about it. The Democrats have been very open about this. To be honest with you, that may make sense on their end, because at least it would point to some piece of legislation or a plan as to what these people are advocating for, what everybody is advocating for. You knew that there were certain pieces of legislation in the 60s that Martin Luther King and other activists were actually advocating for, the Voting Rights Act, things along those lines. But I think if you ask your average protester, what do you want? If you had a wish list of the top three things, what would you change right now? I don't know if they would be able to tell you right now. I think they want the police officers, all four of them, arrested and tried. And outside of that, when they talk about structural changes to this, racist system, what are you talking about? What are you referring to? And right now, I don't think we've seen it, and I don't think most of them even know. Antifa, they are professional protesters. They're professional instigators, and that's what they've done here. They do this for a living. These people do it for a living. So they're sowing these, seeds of discontent, and so I don't think there's going to be any shortage on that end. But listen, it's no surprise that the reparation issue is nothing that's new. But I mean, listen, we're printing trillions of dollars like it's nothing now.
Yeah, I know, but
what's another 14 trillion?
Yeah, well, we had a struggle for $6 trillion to get every American $1,200. All right, we got to leave it there. Billy, thank you so much. I understand you may be going on a little global travel. I hope I see you before that begins, and I hope you come back safely. But thanks for joining.
I'll see you soon, John. Thanks so much.
Bill Cortese, Marine veteran, Republican strategist, and now world traveler. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to break down all the news of the day, and I'm going to tell you about what's happening here in Staten Island tomorrow, more haircuts, and apparently Friday, there's going to be a showdown with the Antifa folks right here on The Rock. More after this.